If you're the master of whispers in King's Landing, and let the whispers fade away in the wind, you're either crappy at your job or just the very best. The latter stands true for Larys Strong. When Jasper Wild comes to Larys with information that Seasmoke, the dragon of Laenor Targaryen, was seen with a rider, Larys suggests Jasper keep the information to himself and not share it with the super volatile Prince Regent Aemond. Later in the same episode, that is the 7th episode of Season 2, Larys seemed to be taking an unusual interest in the well-being and faster recovery of the fallen King Aegon. But why exactly is Larys doing all these things? Why did Larys keep the Seasmoke secret from Aemond? Why does Larys want Aegon to be back in power? Why is he so loyal to Aegon? Well, that's what we're here to find out. But in order to understand the real motivations of someone like Lord Strong, who almost never really reveals his true intentions, and someone whose allegiances are never clear, we need to dig a little deeper than episode 7, and go into a bit of a retrospect. So without further ado, let's cut to the chase. But before that, if you like our content, please consider subscribing to us. It may be a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Let's continue. Season 2 made Larys Strong a way more compelling character simply by humanizing him to an extent. Like just about anyone from Westeros, Larys Strong strives and lives for power and control. That's the reason why he started his manipulations and schemings as early as Season 1, Episode 4, when he told Alicent about the moon tea Rhaenyra had after her stint with Sir Criston Cole. All he truly wants is to divide and rule. He knows that he cannot become king, but oftentimes the Kingmaker holds more power and control than the king himself. That's why Larys sowed the seeds of resentment and doubt in the heart of Aegon by telling him half-truths about attempted coups and how Otto Hightower undermined Aegon's authority with his strong presence. Aegon took the bait and started to become a king who paid close attention to what Larys had to say. I mean, he did stay back in King's Landing at least on one occasion after listening to Larys. But everything went wrong after Aemond burned the hell out of Aegon and his dragon Sunfire. So like any self-respecting snake of a person, Lord Confessor of King's Landing turned to Aemond. He supported him instead of Alicent when the question of her staying on the small council was raised, despite the fact that Alicent doesn't mind taking her shoes off while dining with Larys. Unfortunately though, Larys Clubfoot didn't find any favor from the newly appointed Prince Regent, and ended up facing a series of insults from Aemond. In the episode titled Small Folk, Larys thought Aemond was naming him Hand of the King after firing Criston Cole from the job. A welcome move for the Greens, because Criston was glaringly unfit for the job. Anyway, Aemond calls him out for being an obsequious toad, and humiliates him in front of Jasper Wild. Of course, Larys drank the sip of insult without any defiance or defense, but he's not someone who forgets insults. Naturally, he turns to Aegon, because Aegon seems to be the only person in King's Landing who might ensure that Larys is still relevant. You see, Aegon was bedridden. First, Aemond tried killing him, and when he survived, he came to threaten him, but did not leave without hurting him some more. So Aegon was totally helpless as of now, and knew that his life is in grave danger, if at all you could call it a life. In this moment of Aegon's weakness and vulnerability, Larys presents himself as a friend, a well-wisher, as someone who cares. He first denies Aegon milk of the poppy because it was making his mind dull. It was not long before he started telling Aegon the truth about the future from the prism of his own past. Now, I love the way Larys proceeds with this monologue. He begins on a high note by telling Aegon that he's ridden himself in the legends by surviving Dragonfire, thereby uplifting Aegon's morale before giving him a dose of the harsh truth. He reminds Aegon that Orwyle had exhausted his abilities, and that the king would never be whole again. Although Grand Maester Orwyle had bound his leg, he would never be able to run again. Therefore, his mind is all that remains to him. To ensure that Aegon does not feel despair and alone, he tells him his own story, how he came screaming into the world in the bowels of one of Harren's great towers. His lungs were strong, but foot so that his father named it sorcery, accusing a member of our household of spellcasting, malign spells. Next, he tells the fallen king the harsh truth, and how he can use it to his advantage. So Larys forewarns Aegon that people would either pity him behind his back or in his presence. Even if they do not, they would stare at him or turn away their gaze. They would even underestimate him, and this he can use to his advantage. I mean, who would think that the poor disabled Clubfoot would be able to have such grand schemes? Aemond makes a mistake in rebuking Larys, or at least in insulting him. Anyway, it seems to me that Larys sees a bit of himself in Aegon. Yes, he still has innumerable ulterior motives, but he also sheds a tear while talking to Aegon. The pain he carries with him everywhere, the pain that makes him loathe the world, now that pain is being experienced by Aegon, and Larys only feels empathetic towards a fellow cripple. I believe the purity of the bond between Larys and Aegon cannot really be put to question, but it's quite surprising. I mean, Lord Confessor is someone who knows the darkest secrets of everyone, does not speak honestly, and when he talks, his words are guided by fake smiles and personal agendas. He would totally make you believe that he cares for you, and that he's sincere toward you and your cause, but in reality, it's all a facade that's born out of an intelligent mind. Only a few like Alicent can truly see through him, and they rightly fear him. Now this man, this vile and conniving little man, spoke his heart out to Aegon. Yeah, I would mention the teardrop once again. And this is where his true intentions really come to the fore. Because he has been made to feel small. Because he's been neglected and spoken about behind his back. And because people have either looked down upon him or looked weirdly at him. He wants to grow in power using his mind. Hatred is one of the strongest of driving forces, and Lord Larys Strong has a lot of it brewing within him. Naturally, in order to get what he wants, he often shifts sides. Interestingly, this is the kind of thing one would expect from other conniving, treacherous men like Lord Peter Baelish, who seems to be the spiritual descendant of Lord Larys. Much like Littlefinger, Larys is overlooked, but he's equally opportunistic and sly. Yes, there's obviously many stark differences, mostly because no two characters in GRRM's books are exactly the same, personality-wise. The seeds of doubt and enmity he sowed within the royal family ensured that he became richer and more influential, and when he saw himself at risk of losing his authority, he turned to the king, someone he can bend the way he wants. And now, Aegon literally asked for Larys to help him. I mean, can you even imagine the level of control Sir Strong will have on King Aegon? Unfortunately for Aegon, even when the Master of Whispers was being brutally honest and true to his feelings, he was basically furthering his nefarious agenda and selfish purpose. All Aemond can see in Larys is someone who licks the boots of people in power, but Aegon respects and depends on this guy now. His Larys is a wiser version and a confidant, while Aemond's is a toad who kills his family members. If you think about it, the Clubfoot is extremely smart. I mean, he used the show of his humanity at a time he thought was ripe, but of course, this little display of his human side cannot whitewash the evil things he's done in the past. In a recent interview with CBR, Matthew Needham, who plays Larys Strong, revealed what exactly drives his character in the show. Needham said, "It's all really about power and control, especially with Alicent. It's all about making the queen work for him. I don't think he's just some sort of rabid lunatic. It's all about control." He then goes on to say, "Everything about House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones is about power. Everything can be seen through the prism of how people seek power and how we try to exert it over other people." Now, as for why Larys withheld the Seasmoke information from Aemond, the same set of reasons could be applied, and then a few more. So Jasper Ironrod hears the rumors of Seasmoke being spotted with a rider. Needless to say, this is a very important piece of information, but he fails to decide if he should go to Aemond with the info. He first seeks advice from Larys, Whispers being his province. Larys asks him how he heard this news, to which Ironrod said it came to him through his squire, who heard it from a stable hand, who in turn heard it from his fisherman father, whose shipmate was the one who actually saw Seasmoke. Now the thing is, there are 4 people involved in this whisper, something that Larys does not like. He likes whispers closer to the source, with fewer people in the chain, and that makes him a good master of whispers. I mean, the thing with rumors is that they often get exaggerated and flawed when passing through several people, and such rumors often prove to be wrong. Quite unfortunate for the both of them that they did not know how rooted in truth the rumor was. Although Larys seemingly pays little attention to the rumor because it seems to lack basis and substance, there's more to the story. You see, Larys knows that the Prince Regent is a volatile man, and his reaction could make things worse for everyone, including the people of King's Landing and the Red Keep. Much like Olenna Tyrell, Larys knows that the people of King's Landing would revolt further and create a trillion issues for the people in power, and to be honest, this is exactly what happens later in the story, something that we would witness in Season 3. Additionally, Larys might want to keep Aemond in the dark because he's kinda trying to bring Aegon back to power and on the Iron Throne, although it seems unlikely that Aegon will ever sit on the Iron Throne again. Larys and Grand Maester Orwyle are doing all they can to fix Aegon, and it also feels like Larys and Aegon share a friendship of sorts, but the fact that one despicable character is trying to pity another feels strangely interesting. It's weird that 2 repellent characters are able to see the good side in one another. Although this dynamic is absent from the book, I welcome this cunningly creative choice adopted by the writers.
I came screaming into the world from the bowels of one of Harren's great towers.
Marvelous verdict. Larys is the most complicated character in House of the Dragon. Larys' confessions to Aegon reveal that he's always lived in the shadow of others who were physically stronger than him. Case in point, his brother, who was literally called Breakbone. This probably made him feel like a lesser person in his father's eyes, although that wasn't the case. His father loved both his sons equally, which is why he brought Larys to the court. Unlike Tywin Lannister, who often punished his son for being a dwarf, Lionel never felt ashamed of his son. However, the rest of the world does think lesser of Larys. They pity him and feel disgusted by him, Targaryen. But these are the very tools he takes and turns them into weapons. People only see what lies in the exterior, without fully understanding his capabilities and skills. The same is kinda true for Tyrion, but he uses his mind to leave the world in a better state than he found it. Larys, on the other hand, killed his own brother and father, men who truly loved him. So yeah, intentions don't matter, only actions. He's clearly beyond double crosses and foot fetishes. Larys is also a man of action and an amazing villain. What makes him really dangerous is the fact that no one sees him as a villain. He knows fairly well the difference between being good and being evil, and despite this, he chooses to remain evil. He does not really justify the evil things he does, and accepts that he's doing whatever he does just to remain powerful, so that he can look down upon a world that he hates for not treating him right. I mean, Homelander from The Boys also had a troubled past, but he's not smart enough to understand how it impacted him. Larys does. After Season 2, Episode 6, the King of the Seven Kingdoms knows full well what it means to be Larys Strong. What is the burden of being crippled and living in a city that only knows how to prey on the weak? Larys will use this connection for his own good. House of the Dragon gave more depth and character to Larys Strong, something which was missing from the books, and not even the historians who wrote Fire and Blood will ever know what motivated Larys Strong, but we do, and that's why his arc gets a thumbs up from me. That was all in this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do consider appreciating us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. See you in the next one.